Hey everybody, this is our East Coast. My name is Eli.
And I'm Fawn.
And we are so happy to see you. How is social distancing working for you?
What is this, day
378.
So, yeah. It feels like that. I know it's only been a little over a week, but it feels like it's been forever.
So what do we have today?
So we actually reached out to Toby O'Rourke, who is the CEO of KOA. We just wanted to hear from them, how they're doing, how their industry is surviving under all of this, and what changes are coming with camping right now and hope in the future. So we had a great conversation with her.
Yeah, we wanted to start this series of videos where we talk to people that know what they're talking about, authorities within the RV industry. So today we have this interview with Toby. We also have one more interview in the works with Jed Wood, who is the president of the Pennsylvania Campground Owners Association.
Okay.
Are you proud of me for saying that? And we also have an interview with Matt from Matt RV Review, super fun guy. While everything is so negative out there, let's have a little fun and talk about RV, and of course take this with the seriousness that it requires, and talk also about the situation, but how it's affecting what we care about so much. All right.
Yeah.
So without further ado,
Here is our conversation with Toby O'Rourke. Hi, RV East Coast family. As we promised, we have Toby O'Rourke on the line, the CEO of KOA. She's going to answer a lot of our questions today, and check in and tell us how things are going in the camping industry.
yeah. How are you, Toby?
I'm great. Thanks for having us on today to talk about everything that's going on with camping.
It has been certainly crazy. Where are you located right now?
Well, I'm working out of my home right now. We shut our offices down last week, but we're headquartered in Billings, Montana. So I'm calling from Montana today.
It's nice. So we wanted to start the conversation with you and maybe ask you, from your point of view, how is this crazy current situation affecting the campground industry, but really the hospitality business in general?
Oh, it's really difficult. Obviously, the whole hospitality industry, from airlines to cruises to hotels, has been completely rocked by the coronavirus. You're seeing lots of cancellations, mass layoffs of workers, businesses shutting down. So it's been very challenging. On the campground side, we're starting to see some of that to some extent as well. Definitely on the cancellation side. Starting March 8th was about the day we noticed cancellations starting to rise. And since then, there's been a very steady stream of cancellations, primarily for March and April right now. We're seeing our summer business holding strong, but the majority of reservations or cancellations that are coming in are for things happening in the spring. So our campgrounds are not immune to what's happening by any means. It's a very similar situation to the broader hospitality industry.
Yeah. We are. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna add that we are seeing that some campgrounds are saying while the short-term business is dropping off, they are seeing long-term business coming in. People planning to come in and stay for an extended period of time that for some campgrounds that didn't typically have that type of business. So I think there's just some gives and takes about what type of RV business we're seeing out there right now. I think people are looking to get somewhere and stay. Especially, a lot of states are putting in place in shelter or shelter in place ordinances. So RVers and campers need to get somewhere and stay there. So that's why we're seeing people get to parks.
So you said in your newsletter that most campgrounds are still open. So is that changed, or are you guys still open?
Oh, no, that's the only time a campground in our system is closed is two reasons right now. One, it's just not ready to open yet. Obviously a lot of our northern parks don't open until mid-April or May anyway because of weather. But any campground that's been closed by a government ordinance, so there's state actions, local actions, or county actions that have been affecting parks. So as of today, there was 11 campgrounds that have to close operations due to government ordinances. All of those are updated on our website. If you go to koa.com, we have a link right off the homepage that'll list all the campgrounds by state that are impacted right now by some sort of local government action.
Yeah, which are the areas that are being most affected, closing because of government orders?
It's across the board. I mean, every state in the nation is contemplating what they're going to do right now. So, last week, Pennsylvania and New York and a lot of Northeast concentrated states, and even today, Massachusetts has come on board, and Connecticut. So there's a lot happening in the Northeast, but really this is extending across the country. California has measures in place. Certain counties in Texas have measures in place. Certain counties in Washington. So I don't think it's really regional by any means. This is definitely every local municipality or every state is stepping back and deciding what they're going to do to help contain the spread of the virus.
So if a county or a state orders a shelter in place, that means the KOA campground in that area has to close?
Not necessarily. When a shelter-in-place order is issued, they list out what they deem as essential businesses. And so, for example, in Pennsylvania, campgrounds are listed on that essential business list. And we've been appealing to state and local government officials for the reason that a lot of long-term campers stay at campgrounds. And if you close the campground completely, those people are displaced with nowhere to go. There's also people that are traveling. A lot of snowbirds right now are traveling back up to Canada, or they're trying to get home, so they need places to stay for the night. A lot of our campgrounds host medical workers, traveling nurses, for example, so we want to be open and available to them. And also, campgrounds, most private campgrounds have stores that serve their communities, and they sell propane. So we would like to see those campgrounds remain open and accessible. Sometimes when the ordinances are put in place, campgrounds can keep their long-term campers, but they can't bring in any short-term business. So it just depends. Each one's different. So when the measure comes out, we try to read and understand it and then get in touch for clarification with those officials.
Can we talk about what kind of precautions are you taking at KOA to keep us all safe? Because we understand that you want to keep your guests safe, but you also have responsibility over your staff. So what measures are you putting in place?
Yeah, absolutely. We take safety, public health safety, our employees' safety very, very seriously. So, a couple weeks ago, we started putting in place just relooking at cleaning procedures, for example, and making sure those standard operating procedures are being followed and that we can ensure good cleanliness of public spaces, particularly bathrooms, right? Registration areas. Some campgrounds are limiting, in most campgrounds, I would say, are limiting gathering space. So they're closing down meeting spaces, anywhere where people would gather, in multiple groups of people. So that particularly indoor gathering spaces are closed. Some external gathering places are closed. We also see campgrounds are doing a lot of changing their check-in procedures. That could be meeting the guest outside and checking them in off a tablet so that guest doesn't have to come into the store. So they're doing different things like that. Some campgrounds are closing their cabin accommodations right now for a limited period of time, just until we can get past some of this, just to be extra safe. So each campground's doing things a little differently. We've definitely put out some ideas to the system, and we encourage campers to check in with their local KOAs about what's being done at that particular location.
In your opinion, what can we do to be better guests? How can we help our local campgrounds?
I think the thing that everybody needs to do right now, whether it's guests or campground owners or small business owners or people in grocery stores, is just exercise patience and partnership. It's a really heightened state of tension for everybody. So, campers are canceling their trips, which puts a lot of stress on the campground owner. People can get upset about those cancellation procedures. We've got, I think in general, if just everyone can be patient and cooperative with each other, that'll go a long way in this country right now, which I'm seeing. I mean, I think across the board, most people are being very cooperative. But I think that's the biggest thing that could help anybody out there right now trying to deal with this crisis.
Toby, do you think that you're going to have to take some measures as far as each campground, like maybe limiting access to common areas such as the playground, all the kids playing the same, the slides are everything. You think that's going to be necessary?
Yeah, like I said, every campground's doing things like that right now. On our company-owned properties that we own within the KOA portfolio, we have limited, we have closed down recreation areas, and I know a lot of our franchisees are doing the same. So I think everybody's sharing best practices with each other. And then we've put out a lot of materials for campgrounds to communicate that as effectively as possible. So signage to say our recreation areas are closed, our meeting spaces are closed. So yes, I do think that campgrounds are doing that because that's in the best interest of everybody's safety right now.
Right.
But again, I would encourage...
No, you can finish. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, again, I would encourage campers to go online to the KOA they're headed to understand, if there's certain things that are closed that they may want to be accessing.
My question is, are you struggling with staff at all? Because I know in my organization where we are still operating, we have a lot of staff that are scared and they don't want to come to work. So has that been an issue for you?
I've heard just through feedback from some owners that there's, some work campers are curious about what's going to happen with their jobs they've set up for the summer, or they may be changing their plans. I know some campgrounds have had to lay off staff because business is down, so they're having to make those decisions. On our company-owned properties right now, we haven't made any layoffs. And we're just trying to find those campgrounds that are closed. We're trying to find other ways to keep that staff busy doing other things. So yeah, I think in the next week or two, there will be a lot of things people need to think about with staffing. But in terms of safety of staff, I think every operator is trying to take all means possible of taking care of their staff best they can.
Well, hopefully we'll get through this soon enough and we can start our season. And be
yes, it'll be good to get out and be outdoors, right?
Yeah.
Toby, let me tell you, the very first campground that we visited ever, even before we bought our RV, was a KOA. And my daughter and I started tent camping, and she fell in love with it. Then when we first bought our RV, the first one was also a KOA. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's good.
Providing such a good ambience for families.
Well, thank you for camping with KOA.
Yeah, we do. We have really enjoyed. We went to 2 amazing campgrounds last summer. We have 2 booked this summer, Outer Banks West and the Stratford KOA, which is in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we are so looking forward to that.
To the first one, the one in Outer Banks. We're going to the very first weekend to the opening.
It's brand new.
Really exciting.
Yep. So
it's just being built right now.
That stays on the books for May.
I hope so. We really hope every camping season can kick back up here soon.
Yeah. So last year, for last year, all the campgrounds we visited, we did our best of 2020 list, and 2 KOA campgrounds made it to our list. One was best beach camping.
Yes,
which
it
was
Cape Charles.
Yeah, Chesapeake Bay. And the other one, we named it best family camping place, which was Chincoteague Island. Because there's so much to do there. Can you tell us, give us a little, I don't know if you can do this, but tell us, what are some of your favorites within the East Coast, or tell our viewers some of the places that they should definitely check out?
Oh, there's so many great campgrounds in the East. If I think of Maine, we have beautiful properties in Bar Harbor, for example, right on the ocean. It's gorgeous. We have properties in upstate New York, like, for example, Watkins Glen has a lot of family fun activities. It's very activity driven. And then nearby, we have the Herkimer Diamond KOA Resort, which has, actually diamond mine, where you can mine Herkimer diamonds, and that's a really fun one, especially for families. And then nearby there is the Cooperstown KOA, which is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, so that's pretty fun. Let me see. Moving down the coast, there's Virginia Beach is a great property. We've got a beautiful property in Cape Hatteras in the Outer Banks.
That's how we're going to be doing
which
a
is
lot
right
of
on the
traveling.
water. It's another good beach location. You know, all the way down to Myrtle Beach, I would say, is another good one I like, and properties in, you know, all across the coastline in North Carolina, et cetera, South Carolina. And then you get down into Florida, right? And there's lots of properties in Florida. So those are some of the ones that are top of mind for me, but we have so many great KOAs, it's really hard to, and I hate playing favorites, so I don't want to say I have a favorite, but there's some really, really good ones out there.
Yeah. Anything exciting coming to KOA this year? Any news you might want to give us? Little sneak peek.
Well, we yeah, you know, right now all the attention's been moved to coronavirus. So but things we've been working on is, you know, I think I talked to you guys last year about our Campground of the Future project. And so we've been putting in place a lot of things out of that project actually into campgrounds. So campgrounds are putting in pet sites. I think that's kind of the new fun thing at KOAs. So fenced areas that the dog can be off leash at the site. And those are becoming really popular. More and more campgrounds are putting those in.
That would be really nice. Yeah.
We're also, yeah, it's so convenient. We're also putting in, some of our campgrounds are starting to experiment with elevated sites. So you park below and you can camp on, you know, hang out on the deck above. So it just changes your perspective getting off the ground. So we have some of those going in across the country, which is exciting. But in general, there's just, you know, a lot of people are investing in their parks, adding new sites, adding new amenities. We've got new campgrounds being built, which is also exciting. So there's always new things, but I would say, you know, in the site world, those pet sites are probably the most popular thing happening right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Well, if
great.
you ever need a volunteer, someone to give you feedback, we'll be definitely happy to.
Oh, yeah. Good. I'll take you.
Toby,
take you
before
up
we
on that.
finish, and this is only if you're okay with it, we asked in our Facebook group if anybody had any questions for you, and a few people posted a few questions. Can we maybe read 2 or 3 of them?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jim Evans said, with the boom in RV ownership over the last 5 years or so, what specific plans does KOA have to meet the demand?
Right. There is so much, so many more people coming into camping, and we measure that through our research every year. And RV ownership, to his point, is spiking. We're seeing more and more people RVing. So that's what I was talking about, people expanding their campgrounds. We're really encouraging people to add sites. You know, they're buying excess land, they're adding more sites. So, and more people are building campgrounds now than they have in decades. So, you know, and I really hope that doesn't slow down with what's happening in the economy right now. That might take a little bit of a hit for a time, but I think everything's going to bounce back very quickly, and all those new building projects can get underway because there's lots of activity happening in private campground space, a lot of money being invested to build parks and expand parks, which is really, really healthy with all these new legions of campers coming in.
Okay, and Holly Jordan's 9-year-old wants to know, how many KOAs are there in America?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, we have 525 campgrounds across the U.S. and Canada. So we have just shy of 500 in the U.S. and 30 or so up in Canada. So hopefully we have a lot. We're growing all of the time.
That's awesome.
Oh, I see one by Mike. It says, she kind of answered this. Mike asked, how closely do they monitor campgrounds to make sure they are up to KOA standards?
That's a really good question. We take that pretty seriously. We actually have 4 or 5 different teams that travel the country year round, you know, especially during the summer months when campgrounds are open, and they're inspecting every KOA. So we have a 600-point inspection process of what every KOA has to pass every year to continue to be a KOA. And then sometimes we find things in there that then we're giving suggestions like we would like to see this improved, we'd like to see that improved, and then we work with the owners on those improvements. But we have those teams going across the country at any given time, working with our owners and looking at each KOA.
Oh, that sounds like a really cool job.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fun. If you like to RV full-time, it'd be a perfect job.
Yeah, maybe in the future.
That sounds perfect
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah,
Well,
good.
Toby, thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
taking the
much.
time to do this. We really appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. Hopefully we'll get through this soon enough and we'll be camping at KOA.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank
care.
you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.